are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. The most harmful thing is wanting to avoid mistakes. As long as a word remains unspoken, you are its master. Once you utter it, you are its slave. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. The longer we dwell on our misfortunes, the greater is their power to harm us. Only two things we'll regret on deathbed: that we are a little loved and little traveled. Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. Eventually, all things fall into place. Until then, laugh at the confusion, live for the moments, and know everything happens for a reason. The problems are solved not by giving new information, but by arranging what we have known for long. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. Happiness is nothing more than good health and a bad memory. Except for our own thoughts, there is nothing absolutely in our power. Don't tell your friend what your enemy shouldn't know. One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. You are lonely, not because no one needs you, but because you care about who is next to you. Those who aim at great deeds must also suffer greatly. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Why should you feel anger at the world, as if the world would notice? We should try to be the parents of our future rather than the offspring of our past. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you, too, can become great. Only time can heal what reason cannot. To give out someone else's secret is betrayal. To give out yours is stupidity. We take greater pains to persuade others that we are happy than endeavoring to think so ourselves. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. While we are postponing, life speeds by. The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows brave by reflection. Conquer yourself rather than the world. The busier we are, the more acutely we feel that we live. the more conscious we are of life. Kind words don't cost much, yet they accomplish much. Always go too far, because that's where you'll find the truth. Without effort and willingness to experience pain and anxiety, nobody grows. In fact, nobody achieves anything worth achieving. Adventures are never fun while you're having them. I don't feel that it is necessary to know exactly what I am. The main interest in life and work is to become someone else that you were not in the beginning. The real question of life after death isn't whether or not it exists, but even if it does, what problem this really solves. If you own something you cannot give away, then you don't own it. It owns you. Where your fear is, there is your task. You desire to know the art of living, my friend. It is contained in one phrase: make use of suffering. The man who has no inner life is the slave of his surroundings. Divide each difficulty into as many parts as is feasible and necessary to resolve it. To remain in the past means to be dead. My friend is he who will tell me my faults in private. No evil propensity of the human heart is so powerful that it may not be subdued by discipline. No man ever threw away life while it was worth keeping. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Do not complain about growing old. It is a privilege denied to many. To perceive the world differently, we must be willing to change our belief system. Let the past slip away, expand our sense of now, and dissolve the fear in our minds. To be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it. In taking revenge, a man is but even with his enemy, but in passing it over, he is superior. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. When it is dark enough, you can see the stars. We are our choices. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. We live only now. Everything else is either past or is unknown. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate in the present, and to mistrust the future. It is not so much our friends' help that helps us, as the confidence of their help. Be silent, or let thy words be worth more than silence. Respond to critiques with accomplishments. From the point of view of youth, life is an endless future. From the point of view of old age, it is a very short past. An intelligent person always hides three things about himself: his weaknesses, his sources of wisdom, and his true aspirations. When we lose one blessing, another is often most unexpectedly given in its place. Depression is like a woman in black. If she turns up, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat. Treat her like a guest and listen to what she wants to say. Just improve yourself. That is the only thing you can do to better the world. Everywhere, man blames nature and fate, yet his fate is mostly but the echo of his character and passion, his mistakes and his weaknesses. Life is a series of collisions with the future. It is not the sum of what we have been, but what we yearn to be. Money is a great servant, but a bad master. People who know little are usually great talkers, while men who know much say little. Always do what you are afraid to do. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. These things are not asking to be judged by you. Leave them alone. Things never happen the same way twice. Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. You should be careful not to form a very favorable opinion about a person at first acquaintance. Otherwise, in most cases, you will have to be disappointed. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. Happiness is the only thing that doubles when you share it. Whoever attaches a lot of value to the opinions of others pays them too much honor. If we suspect that a man is lying, we should pretend to believe him, for then he becomes bold and assured, lies more vigorously, and is unmasked. Prayers do not change the world, but prayers change people, and people change the world. Rules for happiness. Something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. If you love something so much, let it go. If it comes back, it was meant to be. If it doesn't, it never was. Give a person everything that he desires, and at the same moment, he will feel that this is not everything. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. The most spiritual people experience by far the most painful tragedies. But this is precisely why they honor life, because it provides them with their greatest adversities. The lack of young men is that they think they are more happy or unhappy than they really are. An evil person cannot be happy, for being alone with himself, he remains alone with the villain. Many people know they are unhappy, but even more people don't know they are happy. The more kind a person is, the less he notices the bad in people. The future comes slowly, the present flies, and the past stands still forever. The clever are not so much looking for loneliness as they avoid the fuss created by fools. The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. The virtuous man contents himself with dreaming that which the wicked man does in actual life. Love you will find only where you may show yourself weak without provoking strength. One cannot be deeply responsive to the world without being saddened very often. Man's main task is to give birth to himself. To be happy is to be able to become aware of oneself without fright. It is only for those without hope that hope is given. Smart people learn from everything and everyone. Average people from their experiences. Stupid people already have all the answers. Circumstances don't make the man. They only reveal him to himself. Do not chase after happiness. It is always in you. The right question is usually more important than the right answer. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river if he's not the same man. A confident person avoids two things in life: idle gossip and petty conflicts. choosing instead to cultivate understanding and foster harmony. Boastful speeches are the first sign of weakness, and those who are capable of great things keep their mouths shut. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Our plans miscarry because they have no aim. When a man does not know what harbor he is making for, no wind is the favorable wind. Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. Be wary of the man who urges an action in which he himself incurs no risk. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Because a thing seems difficult for you, do not think it impossible for anyone to accomplish. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. The more honest men are, the less he suspects others of dishonesty. A low soul always presupposes the lowest motives for noble deeds. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize? Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. 3 things never come back: time, word, and opportunity. Therefore, do not waste time. Choose words, and do not miss the opportunity. A healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man only wants one. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. If you make a mistake and do not correct it, this is called a mistake. Attack the evil that is within yourself, rather than attacking the evil that is in others. Silence is a true friend who never betrays. What the superior man seeks is in himself. What the small man seeks is in others. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Respond intelligently, even to unintelligent treatment. Act without expectation. Never allow someone to be your priority while allowing yourself to be their option. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Do something every day that you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring the habit of doing your duty without pain. Never tell the truth to people who are not worthy of it. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence. Then success is sure. From love arises hatred of those things which are contrary to what we love, or which oppose and thwart us in those things that we delight in. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. I love the man that can smile in trouble, that can gather strength from distress and grow. He who dares not offend cannot be honest. Character is much easier kept than recovered. Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. You shall begin it serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference, that you have lived and lived well. Dare to live the life you have dreamed for yourself. Go forward and make your dreams come true. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. The art of being wise is knowing what to overlook. The greatest discovery of any generation is that a human can alter his life by altering his attitude. Be not afraid of life. Believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact. The great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. Our view of the world is truly shaped by what we decide to hear. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others. If you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that at least once in your life you doubt, as far as possible, all things. Freedom is what we do with what is done to us. 3 o'clock is always too late or too early for anything you want to do. Every word has consequences, every silence, too. Those that are most slow in making a promise are the most faithful in the performance of it. Man was born free, and he is everywhere in chains. Those who think themselves the masters of others are indeed greater slaves than they. Judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers. Life is a shipwreck, but we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. Cherish those who seek the truth, but beware of those who find it. He who knows how to be poor knows everything. You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life. The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. To be happy, we must not be too concerned with others. In order to understand the world, one has to turn away from it on occasion. People hasten to judge in order not to be judged themselves. You will never be able to experience everything. So please, do poetical justice to your soul and simply experience yourself. Without work, all life goes rotten. But when work is soulless, life stifles and dies. If a man will begin with certainties, he shall end in doubts. But if he will be content to begin with doubts, he shall end in certainties. Hope is a good breakfast, but it is a bad supper. In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. It is impossible to love and be wise. There are no comparison between that which is lost by not succeeding and that which is lost by not trying. We are like chameleons. We take our hue and the color of our moral character from those who are around us. No man's knowledge here can go beyond his experience. What worries you masters you. The most precious of all possessions is power over ourselves. Bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing. I have learned to seek my happiness by limiting my desires rather than attempting to satisfy them. He is happy whose circumstances suit his temper, but he is more excellent who can suit his temper to his circumstances. The first thing you have to know is yourself. A man who knows himself can step outside himself and watch his own reactions like an observer. Never complain of that which it is at all times in your power to rid yourself. Problems worthy of attacks prove their worth by hitting back. Life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. Life, if well lived, is long enough. A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. The mind that is anxious about the future is miserable. All cruelty springs from weakness. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. We fall in love when our imagination projects non-existent perfection upon another person. One day, the fantasy evaporates, and with it, love dies. Only he who attempts the absurd is capable of achieving the impossible. Never have I dealt with anything more difficult than my own soul, which sometimes helps me and sometimes opposes me. Women wish to be loved not because they are pretty or good or well-bred or graceful or intelligent, but because they are themselves. Time is but the space between our memories. As soon as we cease to perceive this space, time has disappeared. Love ceases to be a demon only when he ceases to be a god. I am struck by how sharing our weakness and difficulties is more nourishing to others than sharing our qualities and successes. Many people are good at talking about what they are doing, but in fact do little. Others do a lot, but don't talk about it. They are the ones who make a community live. When we love and respect people, revealing to them their value, they can begin to come out from behind the walls that protect them. People cannot accept their own evil if they do not at the same time feel loved, respected, and trusted. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Man needs difficulties. They are necessary for health. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Man can endure the hardest trials if he sees meaning in them. The whole difficulty lies in creating that meaning. Don't hold on to anyone who's leaving. Otherwise, you won't meet the one who's coming. Doubt isn't the opposite of faith. It is an element of faith. The first duty of love is to listen. The courage to be is the courage to accept oneself, in spite of being unacceptable. Health so far outweighs all other blessings of life that a truly healthy beggar is happier than a sick king. Hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. No one can construct for you the bridge upon which precisely you must cross the stream of life. No one but yourself alone. Willpower is to the mind like a strong blind man who carries on his shoulders a lame man who can see. Sleep is the interest we have to pay on the capital which is called in at death. And the higher the rate of interest, and more regularly it is paid, the further the date of redemption is postponed. Steel your sensibilities, so that life shall hurt you as little as possible. Employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall gain easily what others have labored hard for. Be careful whom you associate with. It is human to imitate the habits of those with whom we interact. We inadvertently adopt their interests, their opinions, their values, and their habit of interpreting events. In old age, we all regret not having killed laziness in ourselves. When we blather about trivial things, we ourselves become trivial, for our attention gets taken up with trivialities. You become what you give your attention to. In anger, we should refrain both from speech and action. The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Confine yourself to the present. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours. Sometimes you must yield in order to win, and sometimes maintaining a low place leads you to win. Pride and excess bring disaster for man. The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. Try your best to be to others as you would wish to be treated yourself, and you will find that this is the shortest way to benevolence. Longing is the agony of the nearness of the distant. He who hasn't tasted bitter things hasn't earned sweet things. Nothing is so difficult as not deceiving oneself. You can't think decently if you're not willing to hurt yourself. People know what they do. Frequently, they know why they do what they do. But what they don't know is what they do does. Where there is power, there is resistance. Do not think that one has to be sad in order to be militant, even though the thing one is fighting is abominable. The sad truth is that most evil is done by people who never make up their minds to be good or evil. Forgiveness is the key to action and freedom. To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. Crying is all right in its way while it lasts, but you have to stop sooner or later, and then you will still have to decide what to do. I have learned now that while those who speak about one's miseries usually hurt, those who keep silence hurt more. A proud man is always looking down on things and people. And, of course, as long as you are looking down, you cannot see something that is above you. Spiteful words can hurt your feelings, but silence breaks your heart. An intelligent man never gives a second chance in 3 situations. When trust is broken, love is undervalued, and time is squandered, recognizing these as the irreplaceable currencies of life's wealth. Pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next man. It is the comparison that makes you proud, the pleasure of being above the rest. Once the element of competition is gone, pride is gone. The only true affluent are those who do not want more than they have. To spare oneself from grief at all cost can be achieved only at the price of total detachment, which excludes the ability to experience happiness. Man's main task in life is to give birth to himself, to become what he potentially is. The most important product of his effort is his own personality. There is no meaning to life except the meaning man gives his life by the unfolding of his power. I learned this, at least by my experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. The question is not what you look at, but what you see. Do not be too moral. You may cheat yourself out of much life, so aim above morality. Be not simply good. Be good for something. Our life is frittered away by detail. Simplify. Things do not change. We change. It is never too late to give up your prejudices. The heart has its reasons, which reason knows not.